We all know that business stability and growth come from serving existing customers as well as gaining new ones. But where do the new ones come from? Many businesses are reliant on one or two rainmakers. They bring in new business, leaving the others in the business to work on delivery. In professional services firms, this just doesn't work because the cost of having someone on the bench is too high. The answer is simple. Get all your experts to be confident with and successful at generating new work from existing clients and finding new ones. You'll find out how on today's episode of Better Business for Good TV with sales success architect Frances Pratt from Metisan.
Better Business for Good TV. By small business owners, for small business owners.
As a business specialist who's always struggled with business development and sort of cringes at the very sound of the word sales, why do so many of us struggle with business development?
That's a great question, Brenda. And I think it comes down to this, right? We're experts in our area and we know exactly what we're doing, what we're saying, what we know. And we think that selling is more of that, more of telling people what we do and what we know. And it's actually the opposite. And that's why people struggle with it, because firstly, we have an impression it's about us and about us showing our expertise. And secondly, particularly experts don't want to be that pushy, icky salesperson who comes across as, you know, I just want you to buy from me. So it's kind of the antithesis. And so because they don't want to be that, they kind of go all the way back the other way and become quite apologetic and move out of their expertise.
So how do we get them to change that mindset?
Well, it absolutely starts with mindset. So the first thing about sales and selling is to actually see it as an active service. It's not a function of you and your business. It's a function to fulfill a need or a promise to a client. So when we, first of all, stop making it about us and make it about the client, that feels easier and it seems easier. So then the second part of that mindset is then it actually, that frees us up to be able to sit in our expertise and to be able to then apply those things that we know to the person that we're talking to the problem that they have, to the need that we're trying to help them fill.
So what activities are really going to help in generating new business, in achieving what you just said? Are there other specific things you can do? I mean, I can tell myself to change my mindset over and over and over again.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good point, because in change management, you actually need to set yourself reminders. So I advise people to have a call sheet that has a big message at the top and that says it's not about me, or, you know, great selling is helping people buy, and have those key reminders around you, because particularly when we're trying to change behavior and mindset, it is about repetition. And it's also about having those visual reminders so that we actually, oh, that's right, I need to do it differently. And the great thing about switching on the right mindset is that it automatically shows you then what the activities need to be. So if the job of selling is actually to help others, then what's the first step is obvious, right? We've got to listen, because you can't actually help anyone until you understand where they're coming from and what the problem is that they have, what's their version. You might have an idea of what's going on for them, but you don't know their individual reasons and their individual nuances of what's going on. So when we get the right mindset, oh, selling is helping people buy, then we can do the right things, which is listening, really deeply listening. And listening involves all of our body. So when we're physically involved in listening, we're tuned in. Our brains are actually focused on comprehending what we're listening to, not on what we're having tonight for dinner or all the 101 other things we haven't done. Our eyes are looking for the body language and all the key signals. Our ears are obviously listening. And I think the last part of listening is actually talking. So what I've heard you say today, what I understand from what you've talked about today is, so that you can actually repeat back and actually ensure that that's what you've heard. So that's the first step, is listening.
Reflective listening is what we used to call that when I was studying psych.
There you go, perfect, reflective listening. So once we've listened and understood and checked, then we can move into our expertise. We can apply what we know to what we've just heard. So when we talk about ourselves, then it's not a brag fest of, aren't I fabulous, I've got a PhD and I've got this and I've got whatever. It's not about that. It's actually about, I heard you say this, and what I'd like to discuss with you is this. I heard you say this, and this might be a way to approach that. So it's an applied learning and an applied use of our expertise. And so what comes from those first two steps is then an obvious next step, which is the next step. So here's what I've heard. Here's a solution that I think might work for you. How does that sound? What the first step might be is to have a meeting, or to run a diagnostic, or whatever it is that your first step is. So this is what I love about doing this work, Brenda, is that when you unlock and unhinge that mindset around helping, and then roll out the other activities, which just seem like common sense then, once you've got the mindset right, then what you see is you see people released. I was working with some guys just last week, and one of the guys, he's an expert in risk, and he said to me, "This is so liberating. I don't need to feel pushy." And I went, "I know." And it was just lovely to see that liberation and feel it in, you know, in the tone of his voice. And because that work's been going on, now that company is getting the types of responses that they've been looking for. So when we go out in an active service, we explore and we show our expertise in a nice way, then opportunities open up, and then it's easier to explore those with people.
The last question that we'd written down here was about values-based selling, value-based selling. So do you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, I do. So I suppose the thing that drives, I suppose that the fuel that drives this whole type of conversation is value. So often when people are going out and looking for new business, they feel like that's asking, "Can I talk to you about this? Do you want this? How many of these do you want? Would you like fries with that?" But instead of doing that, what I want you to think about is, again, going into your expertise. And I want you to think about, what do you know that has value to your target audience? So I'll give you a good example. I was working with a childcare, a company that did childcare centre fit outs. And when someone's going to open a childcare centre, because it's gazetted, I think, anyway, it's published somewhere, lots of people are calling them, "Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this?" And so we had to have a different angle. So what we did is we put together an opening childcare centre cost calculator based on all of our experience with opening 300 centres. So we've done this for lots of different businesses. So we know if you've got this many kids and this many rooms, that this is the type of budget that you should be looking at for your fixtures and for your toys and for whatever else they use. Anyway, so now the conversation when we pick up the phone is, "Oh, congratulations on you're going to open this centre. Hey, based on all our experience with opening centres, we've put together cost calculator. Is that something that might be of interest to you?
Useful.
Yes. What is useful? That's exactly right. And so that changes the whole tone of the conversation, because now we're looking at giving rather than getting.
Yeah.
So often we have so much value. We have value in all of the things that we do and know, and it's sometimes about putting that together in a way that can showcase your expertise and is actually of value to the people or the potential people that you're talking to. And so often in marketing terms, people call those lead magnets and those sort of things, but just as equally, they can be part of a sales mechanism where we're calling potential clients or sending them emails saying, hey, I've got this spreadsheet, or I've got this ebook, or whatever it is that is really has great value in it. And look, I know a TV show, BB4G. Now, what's that stand for? Oh yeah, Better Business for Good. They do downloads, and that's exactly the same concept. What's something of value that I can offer to the people who are interested in listening to me?
And I'm guessing that there's going to be a download right underneath this episode of BB4G.
You are so clever, Brenda. There absolutely is. And so if you've loved what you've heard today, then I'm just going to put it into a format that's going to be really easy for you to think about in your business and apply in your business.
You have been watching Better Business for Good TV by small business owners for small business owners. Previous episodes can be found in the Better Business Builders Community Resource Library at bb4g.co/community.